working up to 2 p.m., we are joined by our guy, Sean Cunningham, sports reporter for Fox 40 KTXL. Sean, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us, man.
I'm doing great, fellas. How about yourselves?
You know,
okay.
It's been quite the show. This is what happens. This is why the Kings have to win every game, because when they don't win every game, specifically when they are down at one point by 41 points, things can get a little testy, but we are powering through as we get ready for the holiday. What were your initial thoughts on what happened with the Kings last night? Should we just burn the tape, or is there some smoke to the fire?
No, I mean, I wouldn't burn the tape. I think there's always, as you say, smoke to the fire. I'd also say welcome to Sacramento, because it is a roller coaster.
I tried to tell him, Sean. I tried to tell
him. You will see it throughout year after year after year. I mean, the highs of highs, lows of lows, and going for a 7th straight win last night, where all of a sudden you just look like this unbeatable team. You've got MVP discussions rolling around with De'Aaron Fox, and Domantas Sabonis looks unstoppable again, and then you run into a clunker like that. That's one of those games that, I mean, I don't know how you guys look at it. I always look at it and go, it's a schedule loss. You got about 3 games in 5 nights. You've got a 6-game road trip, or 3 games in 4 nights, I believe, and you got a 6-game road trip, and you're spending a little time in New Orleans, so we all know how that can be. I mean, it's one of those games where if you had to circle one on the calendar that is probably going to be a clunker, that would have been the one. But the reason I don't burn the tape, as you put it, is because you're looking at a lot of people who've come in and are contributing at a level to pick up to show that there's some quality depth on this team, to show that they can be ready when their number is called upon. And then also, let's face it, like, that's a team that went up against some size again, and they did really well going up against size and against OKC at home, and then here again that following game against the Cavaliers with those fast physical teams that can kind of push you around a little bit, those long teams. And last night, some of the bigger team, you look at a guy like Zion Williamson and Jonas Valanciunas, and I mean, you got Cody Zeller just looking like the second coming for a moment there. It was crazy. But yeah, I think there's some physicality that certainly showed up on the tape that would be a little concerning.
Yeah. Sean, the big thing coming out of yesterday as well was the injuries, both before the game and then as the game happened. Chris Duarte out in the middle of that game. Keegan Murray gets out at the end of the game. Keon Ellis was ruled out right before the game. Sasha also didn't play. You have Kevin Huerter, who was questionable, didn't play on Sunday, and then played yesterday. And then Trey Lyles as well, who has been kind of a mystery with his injury. First things first, do you have any updates on any of those guys? Have you heard anything about their status or about how they're feeling today? And second, just a big storyline of last year was the Kings not dealing with injury. What do you want to see from this team dealing with so many injuries early in this year?
Yeah, it was a popular narrative last year that this team was healthy. I think people, I've said it, a lot over the past summer and into these early weeks of the season. I think a lot of people misconstrue, healthy and
right.
availability, because this team, they'll push back on you, man. They played through a lot of injuries, and I think a lot of the stuff that they're experiencing now are certainly some things that will keep you out. And if the season looked a little different, some guys might be going, depending upon who those players are. But there's some cautiousness that's going into this, some thought that's going into this, and make sure your guys are ready for this long haul that is an 82, possibly 83 game and beyond a regular season schedule. So that is to say, though, that they are experiencing some tough nicks and bumps here along the way. If anybody follows Trey Lyles on Instagram, by the way, he put a nice little Wolf of Wall Street thing together, which we all figured he would be ramping up his activity. I don't know that there's much mystery there. I think he's hoping to make his debut on this trip, and he was able to go through a 5-on-5 workout last night before the game, and so I think that's trending well. Possibility of seeing him in the next game or two. If he's putting that out today, I would imagine he's going to make his debut tomorrow.
Talking to Sean Cunningham, sports reporter for Fox 40 KTXL. And Sean, it's been I know you saw the whole Lou Williams thing, but I'm not even going to get into all that, specifically with trades. We hear so much about the trade talk from the national media because that's what they love to talk about. Somebody like you, what is your interest level or thought process as far as a trade? Or are you more of the mindset to have the Kings just go through this season with the team, with the current chemistry, and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for this team making a trade for sure. I
Okay.
think sometimes people will throw out, trade and then, what are you giving up? What's coming back? So it's always dependent upon that. There's obviously no analytic for chemistry. So you're always worried about, disrupting the good vibes that are going on right now that have, boded well for this team. But yeah, I mean, there's areas of need to be sure. And so you see a lot of the usual suspects that are, out there in the trade wins, like the Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Zach LaVine kind of getting his name thrown around as Chicago looks to likely get rid of him at some point. But I think a lot of things that you're seeing early on in November tend to change quite a bit a month later. And as you draw nearer to to that trade deadline is when things might ramp up a bit. But for all intents and purposes, what this team looks like now and what the team looks like come January, February could be vastly different. So things change very, very quickly in the NBA. So while they might be open to it and they'll explore, I mean, that's the one thing about this front office. They will lift up any stone. They will put their name attached to anything to see the optionality that is out there for their team and to be able to get better. They make no secrets about that, and they'll attach themselves to anything. And I think sometimes as a result of such an aggressive front office, you will get attached to a lot of things that sometimes don't even make sense. So that's a good thing because it takes two to tango in this league, but you can add another two teams to a certain deal to make something happen, as you saw even recently with Petrusev coming over from the Clippers. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think they could use another top flight player on this team, and I'm almost expecting it really coming into the trade deadline when we get through the calendar into 2024.
Interesting. So just to kind of build on that, if just from your perspective, you think the Kings would be better off adding via trade for more of a big splash move, like not necessarily specifics, but LaVine or OG or Pascal, instead of on the margins with, maybe an Alex Caruso or, a Dorian Finney-Smith or something. You feel like the big splash is probably the better move for this team?
I mean, you always want to go for the big splash, but what I would say is, I mean, it could be even names that not even out there. I don't see how Zach LaVine necessarily really helps this team at current the way they're kind of constituted, but I think some of the glaring areas of need, physicality, defense, to me, really depending upon. I mean, you have some depth on this team that can go elsewhere. You have very tradable contracts on this team, and obviously you have areas of need. So if you have a star level player that's going to be available, or like a Pascal Siakam, who obviously is an unrestricted free agent, what would the asking price be for somebody like him? Or even an OG Anunoby, who has a little bit more uncertainty stepping into an offseason in terms of being a restricted free agent and what possibilities exist. But certainly a top tier defender, Alex Caruso, a top tier defender, a second team All NBA defensive team could be very, very interesting to add some depth. So I mean, those are names that are out there, but I think even more so, the names you're not hearing is always sometimes the more fascinating ones out there, and you're going to attach your names to it and see what you can do.
Sean Cunningham, sports reporter, Fox 40 KTXL. Sean, thank you for joining us. We're asking everybody. So before we let you go, we got two questions for you. Thanksgiving around the corner. Are you in or out on turkey? And give us your number one side dish.
Oh, man. Absolutely. I love turkey.
Thank you.
All parts of the turkey. We're doing white meat, dark meat.
Well, what do you mean all parts of the turkey? Yes. Like
look, Peterman was very specific. He said legs, he's doing dark meat.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the majority parts of let's put it this way. You're walking up to that bird, knife in hand, and maybe it's already carved. Yeah. You're picking around for some stuff that looks a little bit more appealing than others. Right. And I'm diving into that bird. Absolutely. And for side, I'm absolutely going mac and cheese. I mean,
thank you.
Yes.
A man of class. That's what we're talking about on this show. Sean, thank you so much, and enjoy the holiday, and we'll talk to you soon, being a friend of the show. Thank you, my guy.
Anytime, guys. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, Sean. Have a
Thanks,
good one.
you too. Sean Cunningham, sports reporter, Fox 40 KTXL. Got to get to